Jesus gave his life.
Okay, welcome everyone. I'm going to tell you right off the top, I'm a little bit mixed up today. I actually had to go into the office today for the 15th time since 2021, and I'm telling you, it has really screwed my head up. So if I start babbling or something, I'm sorry, but I'm just out of sorts. You wouldn't think it would do that. But, after not being in the office for 4 years and then having to be thrown back in for it, I've been around all those people. It's kind of hard for an introvert like me. One of my team members yesterday, she sent something from Facebook, and it's this little boy. And he's real quiet. He goes, shh. He goes, uh-oh. And his mama goes, what? He goes, people. She's like, that's exactly the way Paul and this other person's going to be tomorrow. And it was. It's just kind of jarring to be around that many people again. Welcome to Wednesday night class. Sorry to unload my baggage on you tonight, but that's where I am. For the month of July, the elders have done a series of lessons on Proverbs. And we've kind of picked which ones we wanted to do. And I had wisdom on the first week, and now I've got family on whatever week this is. So I've got a couple more weeks of us, and then you all get the expert back. Paul Spicer will be back here teaching the last part of Daniel in August. So bear with us. You all will get a really good teacher here in a couple of weeks. Not saying that the rest of us haven't done our very best. So today is about family. What is family? This is your all's turn to speak. What is a family? Okay. Those are related by blood. Those that live in the same household, okay. Anything else? All right, so what's the purpose of the family? Provide support for one another, okay? And guidance. Okay? My family's over there laughing at one picture up there because it's the one time you'll see Paul Glenn in pink. It happens to be that pink backpack up there. Let's see if I can do Jason's magic thing here. So I'm wearing a Finding Nemo backpack, and it's pink, and my family just loves that because I'm not going to wear pink otherwise. So But we were at Disney World, and that's my two little girls, and I'm guiding them through Walt Disney that day. Obviously, we were seeing some kind of princess, probably a breakfast at that time of life is what we were doing. But so Sandy says, guidance, support. Anything else? Gary? Okay. Okay. Gary says to raise children up in the fear of the Lord. Randy?
I think a good definition of family is one that exhibits true love for one another.
Okay.
And the purpose within that family would to be there for one.
Okay. So Randy said,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
There's many families that are considered as family unrelated to blood, whether it's through adoption or whatever it might be.
So you all hit on most everything, and I just threw this up there real quick for some of the things that I was thinking of as I was putting those pictures up there. You've got love, support, guidance, teaching, kind of what Gary was saying, comfort. So those of you that know my background, Michelle's had to do a lot more comforting because I'm the sick one of the family. So she's had to do a lot more of that. But because of that, it has made us closer. So being there to comfort one another, whether that is spouse and spouse or parent-child, whatever it is, comfort is another big part of it. So in Deuteronomy chapter 6 and then verses 6 and 7, these commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. That's a big responsibility for us parents. We're supposed to be teaching, as Gary said, bringing our children up if we're blessed to have children. We're supposed to be bringing them up in the fear of the Lord. We're supposed to be teaching those commandments to our children. I think it goes a little bit further than that. It's not just teaching our children, but as we're talking to our children, we're also building each other up as spouses. So I think it's not just the children. And then I showed you all the book that I'm using. I got that book because Bart gave it to me several years ago to prepare for a lesson, and so I was looking through it and I broke the spine. I'm like, I can't give this back to Bart broken. So I bought another copy and then I kept the broken spine one myself. But as soon as I opened up the one for Bart, I broke the spine again. So I said, Bart, here, I bought this, but this is what's going on. It's an older book, but that's what's happened to it. But the author says every time the nation of Israel allowed its domestic life to deteriorate, the nation fell into decay also. Think about that. You know, they were supposed to be thinking about these commandments. They were supposed to be, they were supposed to have these on their doorposts. It was something that was supposed to be ingrained in them. The law of the Lord. But what happens whenever they pulled away from God? Well, they get taken into slavery. They get overthrown. It wasn't a good time for them. So the importance of family and teaching God's way within your family is very important. That's the beginning of it all. We teach our kids to come to worship, come to Bible class. So I can't remember who it was now, it was someone here said, because we were going through arguments of why don't parents bring their kids? And sometimes it's, well, the kids don't want to go. You don't give your kids the choice. You teach them that this is where you're supposed to be on Sundays. You're supposed to be worshiping God. You don't give them a choice if they're going to go to the doctor. If they've got a broken arm, they're going to go to the doctor and they're going to get a cast. They're going to go to school because that's what's best for them. Being here and learning about God, what else could be better? So, my rant for part of the night. So Sandy, yeah, so Sandy is talking about, coming to worship service is a privilege. The saying is, and Miss Barbara's the one that I heard this from first. You don't tell your kids we have to go to church. We get to go to church. It's a privilege to be able to come here and worship God the way He has instructed us. Many nations in the country, in the world, just don't have that. Oh, I never read this. So we're going to be talking spouse relations first. Then we're going to get into parent-child relationship. And I'm going to say this, and I would say this if Michelle weren't here or not. The Bible says that, we're not to marry in heaven. We're not to be married. And I think about that, and I'm like, my family is the best thing in the world. I love my wife. I love my girls. There's just nothing better. And if I can't have that in heaven, how awesome is heaven? If that is my joy here and I'm not going to have the same relationship, how awesome is heaven? John. Family is necessary, right? Right. So for those of you online, John was talking about how the family is from God and it was ordained by God. And the crowning jewel, as one author put it, of creation was woman, was the wife. Because, he had all of this stuff. Man who was made in God's image was not happy until woman was made. So, it's, to me, that part of Genesis is very touching. So an excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who brings shame is like rottenness in his bones. And it is better to live in the corner of a housetop than a house shared with a quarrelsome wife. That sounds like digging on wife, but guys, it's the same thing for us. We can't be harping all the time. We can't be the one that brings shame on our family. The foolishness is ruin to his father, and a wife's quarreling is a continuing dripping of rain. I forgot that was there, or I would say everything that I just said right here. But again, this is not just toward the wife. This is both spouses. You cannot be the one that just quarrels all the time. That's not what marriage is about. And then the way we husbands are supposed to be thinking about our wives is brought forth in this verse. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. This is in Ephesians. He's talking about Christ loving the church, but then he goes right into this. How can we love ourselves but hate our wives? I screwed this part up. Sorry. So, house and wealth are inherited from fathers, but a prudent wife is from the Lord. And we're going to get into pieces of this verse a little bit later. In Ecclesiastes 9:9, enjoy life with a wife whom you love, all the days of your vain life that he has given you under the sun, because that is your portion in life, and in your toil at which you toil under the sun. Enjoy life with your wife. If you're quarreling all the time, if you're a constant dripping of rain, that's not a whole lot of fun. Be better. I've talked for 18 minutes about how important the man-woman relationship should be. And the author of another book that I'm reading says this: it is logical and important for a young man to pray fervently and constantly to the Lord as he seeks the quality which a Christian wife should possess, and for a young woman to do likewise as she looks for a husband. And parents and grandparents, you should be praying for the same thing for your children and grandchildren. Picking a wife, picking a husband is, girls, the most important thing you'll ever do, right? One of the most important things. We've told them that from little bitty. You follow God, but you get one chance at marriage. Don't spend life with someone you don't enjoy. I will say this on a personal side. I had someone very, very, very close to me dating someone that he did not need to be dating. And I sent this big email. Hey, I want you to be thinking about this as you are talking about getting married, and I want you to think about what you're doing. It's really important that you're thinking about this. Well, I sent it to him as he was on his way to get married. He told me, I got this after I got back from my honeymoon. And a few years later, he's divorced. It's crushing to me because we could see it. And if you've got children, grandchildren in your lives that are going down the same path, you've got to tell them, this is important. Mark your calendars. The Websters probably know who this family is. But September 20th, 19th and 20th, Trey and Leah Morgan will be here to conduct a marriage seminar. I actually booked this back in 2021, I think. This was the earliest date I could get them. They go all over the country and do marriage seminars, family seminars. He is actually a Church of Christ preacher. Parker, do you know where? I cannot remember where. But Stronger Marriage is the name of their website. At Stronger Marriage 5 or Strong Marriage 5 is their Twitter handle. They're on Instagram and everything else. After I booked them, I'm like, okay, maybe I should go see what this is really like. So Michelle and I went down to Nashville and spent the night, and Mount Juliet was putting this on. And so we went to it. And they give you homework the first night. And so Michelle and I go back to the hotel room, and we're doing this homework. And after 24 years of marriage, she said something to me that absolutely blew my mind. Communication is very, very important whenever you are married. I'm not the best communicator in the world. I'll admit that. But I would not have thought she could have surprised me as much as she did that night. And it was just one of those questions. Hey, ask your spouse this. And she told me the answer. Obviously, I'm not going to say it here, but she told me the answer. I'm like, what? You are kidding me. After 24 years, I had no idea. Anyway, I say that to say there's always something to learn. The righteous who walks in his integrity, blessed are his children after him. Better is a poor person who walks in his integrity than one who is crooked in speech and is a fool. So as we are walking in life, let us have integrity. Mom and Dad, you have got to have integrity. As you're teaching your kids certain things about life, they need to be able to trust what you're saying. And this one is a hard one for me. Teach children how to ask for forgiveness when mistakes are made. Show humility and teach them by setting an example. Husbands, if you screw up, tell your wife, I've messed up. Let your kids see this. Show them that example. It's okay to be wrong. Questions, comments? While I get some water. Where am I? I cannot keep up with it tonight. It's where? Second row. Oh, thank you. I'll put it back here. No questions? Yes, sir. Yeah, and I think what you said there at the very end is the important part. You're working together. So if you didn't hear, John was talking about how the man is supposed to be the head of the household. And it's hard to do that whenever, one, he doesn't step up to be the leader. And so the man has to be willing to do that. That is not to say that the woman is to be silent. I think the woman, the wife is very important in, well, I don't think, the Bible says the wife is very important in the way the house is run. Whenever it comes down to the decision, if you can't agree, then Michelle will say, okay, Paul, what do you want to do? It's not usually put quite like that. But it's important that, one, the man knows that he is supposed to step up. That doesn't mean that you just enforce your will. That's the wrong way of looking at it. But TV and movies certainly don't make it easy for the husband anymore, because we're usually the bumbling idiot that doesn't know how to do anything. The mom is always the strong one. Let's not let TV shape the minds of our children. The relationship with our children. Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. The righteous who walks in integrity, blessed are his children after him. And guys, I tried to get it to where I wasn't just putting verse after verse up, but it really lends itself to the way this lesson is tonight, so I apologize. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the sinner's wealth is laid up for the righteous. And house and wealth are inherited from fathers, but a prudent wife is from the Lord. So let's look at that last one. Let's go back a couple of slides. A prudent wife is from the Lord. We should be praying for that prudent wife. We should be praying for that prudent husband. House and wealth are inherited from the fathers. Should we think about our kids as we're building our retirement account? The girls and Michelle and I had this discussion the other day talking about generational wealth. I'm so much better off than my parents were. Hopefully she's better off than what Michelle and I were whenever we were getting married. But it's important that we are thinking about that. Look at 2 Corinthians 12:14. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the sinner's wealth is laid up for the righteous. Yeah.
What does prudent wife mean?
What is, all right. What is, John has asked the one question I'm not going to be able to answer right off the top of my head. Prudent wife, what does that mean, everyone? As I'm trying my best to get over here to something that I have. Okay, so frugal or thrifty. She sounds like she's the financial advisor. I'll tell you right now, in my house, Michelle is the financial advisor. So I'm going to tell you what Strong says.
I can still hear my dad. Honey, here's what I got to pay the bill for far. And Mom always pays the bills, and we always take food on the table, and we always take clothes.
Well,
I know that, but I also think of prudence as being able to keep what's in the family.
okay, so I'm going to tell you what Strong's says. Wise and understand, behaved wisely, so that you may prosper, of understanding, and an expert. That's part of what we've got here. But I'm going to say, Sandy, to kind of go along with what you said, as I'm doing work during the day, and even whenever Michelle was working at UK, she's still the one that goes to the store and does everything else. I don't know what things cost. If we're going to talk about money, I just don't know. And so she has always paid the bills. Even before we were married, she'd come over to the apartment. My stack of bills would be over here somewhere, and she'd get the checkbook out, and then I would sign it. I've just not been the one that could always keep up with that. My whole family's laughing right now. Okay, so parents, your job is not to be your child's friend. No parent should be the best friend of their child. That's just not your job. Proverbs 13:24, whoever spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him is diligent to discipline him. In 22:15, folly is bound up in the heart of a child, but the rod of discipline drives it far from him. That doesn't mean beat your child. But if they've done something wrong, it isn't your job to laugh and say, oh, that's kind of funny. Or anything like that. You are to discipline them. And grandparents, if your child isn't disciplining your grandchild, maybe you need to go back and teach a little bit more. Our children should behave and do what's right. Now, it's not always going to happen. We understand that. But it can't be because we have failed to do our jobs as parents. I have no idea where I read this, but it was years ago. Using a rubber mallet. Everybody knows what that is. It's a hammer, but it's rubber. As I was laying the subfloor in our basement, I'd put it in and I'd use a rubber mallet to kind of nudge it into place. I did that to put it where it needed to be, not to break the board. That's the thing about using a rubber mallet. You can gently guide something where it needs to go, and that's what you're doing with discipline. You're guiding them. You're not to try to break their spirit. And then as we're teaching our children, teach them how to take reproof. If someone is correcting you, if you're at your work and you're being told a different way to do it because it's a better way, it's a more efficient way, you don't get mad. Teach your children that they can be taught how to do something differently, do something better, and not get their feelings hurt. You don't take something personally. That's a skill that you can teach your child. Okay, I'm going to pause. Questions? You don't give a guy very long to drink. All right.
Mm-hmm. You know there's a reason God planned for there to be two parents in a household.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it happens that it's not always two parents. And Michelle and I have said for 20, you're 22, Sydney? For 22 years, how in the world does a single parent do this? I just don't know how. There are cases where that happens by no fault of anybody, and sometimes, it just happens. Divorce happens. Seriously, guys, I'm not doing anything. Well, it scares me to death whenever it happens. I blame Jason. Okay, maybe I should just stop moving. But that's another reason that you rely on your church family. Is, hey, Randy, what do you think about this idea? Debbie, what do you think about this idea? We have close relationships within this church family. And hopefully we've got, we're close enough to people that we can bounce ideas. Now, it's not the same. I got that. But it does help having this family. Yes. Yes.
It's not foolproof, and there's a lot of exceptions. And I just wonder, a lot of us scratch our heads at that. I mean, I've got some unfaithful kids.
Mm-hmm.
I admit that. Sharon and I tried to train them up in the Lord, but they go. A lot of them, when they leave the house, things happen.
Absolutely, and I don't mean to cut you off, but that's what I was saying earlier, John. That happens. We see it over and over. And it's not just the churches of Christ, it's everywhere. What we can't say is, we can never say, well, I didn't do everything that I could do to lead them the right way. We do our jobs, and at some point we turn the keys over to them, and they're driving off wherever they want to go. What we want to do is make sure that they stay within the lines. But we don't have control anymore. Okay. We'll take this off. How about that?